Greetings, Kooplings, and welcome back to Play Some Video Games, the OG here around these parts at PSVG. I'm your host, Donnie Reese, and tonight we've got the OG crew here. I've got Delvin and I've got Dev. What's up, fellas?
What's poppin'?
Man, we have a giant news topic to talk about, possibly the biggest news topic in gaming history. And of course, we had to reach out for our ringer and foreign correspondent, Jeff Grubb, over here from GamesBeat, Last of the Nintendogs, Grub Snacks, the Summer Games Mess, How Games Makes Money, and just overall good pal. What's up, Jeff?
Not much, man. You asked me on your podcast. I'm like, I got to be there, so I'm here. Let's do this. Let's talk about probably the biggest news story I've ever covered. Probably the biggest one that's ever happened. Like, yeah.
If there was ever a time to have you make your return to PSVG, I was like, oh man,
this is it. Good call.
This is it. So here, little change of show proper. We're just going to talk about this news. It's a megaton, and it has far-reaching tentacles, and I want to make sure that we cover it as much as we can. So we're going to jump right into the story, and then if we have time, we'll do more questions, and we'll talk about other news stories and maybe some what you're playing, if we've got time. So, if you've been under a rock, or if you've been out there working hard and you're not tuned into gaming Twitter, let me fill you in on what has happened this week. Announced yesterday, Xbox has announced its intent to acquire Activision Blizzard for $95 a share in cash, liquid cash, or as reported, $68.7 billion. The deal is expected to close fiscal year 23, so that would be sometime between July 2022 and June 2023. CEO Bobby Kotick will serve in his current role until the deal closes, at which he is expected to make an exit. Quote from Microsoft in the press release, "We will offer as many Activision Blizzard games as we can within Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass, both new titles and games from Activision Blizzard's incredible catalog. Pending approval, this merger and acquisition would bring the likes of Call of Duty, Candy Crush, World of Warcraft, Diablo, Overwatch, Crash Bandicoot, Tony Hawk, Guitar Hero, StarCraft, Hearthstone, Skylanders, and many more, plus the studios like Raven, Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, Toys for Bob, Vicarious Visions, Beanox, High Moon, as well as the esports outfit Major League Gaming and mobile giant King under the Xbox banner." Regarding what Xbox will do with PlayStation moving forward remains to be seen, but Bloomberg says that Microsoft plans to keep some of Activision's games for PlayStation consoles, but will also keep some content exclusive for Xbox. When pressed, Phil Spencer said, "I'll just say to the players out there who are playing on Activision Blizzard games on Sony's platform, it's not our intent to pull communities away from that platform, and we remain committed to that." The reaction to this acquisition news brought Sony shares down 13%, the biggest drop since 2008, effectively lowering Sony's evaluation by almost $20 billion. Now, obviously, markets are knee-jerky, especially in the game sector. I would expect that to come back up and level back out here in the weeks to come. I came up with 5 places that I would like to take this conversation. Exclusivity. What do we think this means for the gaming landscape? What do we think this means for us, like the consumer, us gamers? What does this mean for Activision and Blizzard? And then what does this mean for the industry overall? Consolidation. I've got some topics that I want to bring up and I want to walk us through. But before I do, I was prepping for this. I've got notes galore here, guys. I've got notes. I've got all kinds of points. I was looking up all these articles. I had all these factoids and sources. I mean, I'm going through Wikipedia. I've got citations. And then Jeff Grubb just did my work for me as he published an article basically saying everything that I was bringing come. So, Jeff, if I may plug an excellent read from you this morning, could you give us a recap of basically what you wrote about this story today?
Yeah. I write these things down so I don't have to remember. So I'm going to look to my article here a little bit and see if I can summarize it here in a pretty quick way. But basically, the story here is that Activision was looking to sell. Like, that is the real unsaid part of like everything we heard yesterday. What needs to be said is Activision, even before the issues with what happened with the investigation from the state of California, with Bobby Kotick really becoming persona non grata, all that stuff did not affect them. Like, they wanted to sell before that stuff. Once that went into place, though, it accelerated everything, and they were like, okay, we need to have some real conversations. So my basic understanding, and I think the details on this are still fuzzy, but I think in general, I think there was a team at Activision that was pitching potential buyers, probably Microsoft first, went there and said, hey, if you make an offer, we're going to listen. Like, basically, you make an offer, Bobby Kotick is going to make everybody else listen. Do you want to do that? And then they're like, well, you got to clean yourself up, but we'll make an offer. And then Microsoft went in and made an offer, and Activision's like, yeah, we're like, Bobby Kotick's probably sitting back like, you came to me, right? Like, they came to me to buy me because I'm Bobby Kotick, I'm the king. That's probably how he views it. But I think the reality is there was a team at Activision that was like, hey, everyone is looking around right now and realizing we don't have a path forward. We are in a situation where Call of Duty, number 1, number 2 best-selling game in the United States of 2021. That is awesome. Like, there's no, like, you cannot deny that this is a company that makes a lot of money. But what have they done outside of that? Well, they've looked around at every single game that did not reach a certain level of profitability, and they cut it off. They said, no, you have to be at least this percentage of operating income to get us to a point where we make where these games make sense, because we want to have everything be at that level. So cut it off. You're not Call of Duty. You're not Call of Duty. You're not Call of Duty. Now all they have is Call of Duty and Blizzard. And Blizzard's like this shining ray of hope, right? Not anymore. Not right now. Nope. Diablo 2 canceled. Diablo Immortal still not out for some reason. Overwatch 2 mysteriously just not showing up over and over. No one wants to work at these companies because they don't want to work in toxic work environments. That's all over the headlines. If you're this company, it's going to be a pretty rough set of years coming up where you need to reset everything. You need to reset your reputation. You need to begin figuring other ways to diversify your portfolio. And at the same time, you need to be attracting enough talent to be able to continue to make Call of Duty games every year. And there's no guarantee you'll even be able to do that. There's no guarantee that something couldn't go wrong to the point where 1 November comes along and Call of Duty's not ready. And now you are effed. You are screwed. If that happens, you are screwed. Now, it doesn't even have to get that bad. All they have to do is not grow. Like, if they don't grow year over year in terms of their their profits and their revenue, people are going to start asking questions about Bobby Kotick. I think it's probably worse than that, in that in the next year or so, they were probably going to see a decline in revenue, a decline in income, and a decline in profits. And then really people would have been asking Bobby Kotick to leave. The investors would have been asking for that to happen. So I think what they did is they looked around, they're like, now's the time to get out. Let's see if we can get back up to that like $95 a share level, kind of like where we were, and then some, before all this stuff happened in the news with the investigation. And if we can, well, then let's just pull the parachutes and go retire and have more money than we've ever had before, and just call it. And that's pretty much how this went down. And for me, I'm looking at this and saying, okay, so if that was the situation in Activision, and the leadership didn't have like sort of the vision to take it forward, I'm sort of relieved that Microsoft is now stepping in to do that, to say, hey, we do have a vision for all this stuff. We have Game Pass. We have incentives that would encourage us to take some of these teams and say, don't make Call of Duty, make something else, make what you want to make, and we have the incentive structure to make that happen. Yeah, we're happy. As you know, we're so happy that we have Diablo 4 coming, and that we can put that right on Game Pass. That's going to be a perfect fit. That's the exact kind of game we want on Game Pass. Like you see that with all the games that they like give money to. With the most recent one, Rainbow Six Extraction, but Anacrusis, all these sort of multiplayer games you play with your friends. Like, they're going to want Diablo 4 on there, absolutely. But there's all these other studios now that they could do other stuff with, and all these IPs they can do all this other stuff with, and they have the business model to make that stuff work. So I look at it and like, yeah, this is consolidation, and I get why people are worried about it, but it's also sort of just the system working in a sick way. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but Microsoft is going to spend money to buy this thing that was worth a lot of money, because the people that were in charge of it no longer knew how to take it forward. Now, a lot of the talent that's going to come along with these studios are eventually, probably pretty soon, going to leave Microsoft, go start their own studios, with the hopes of one day being acquired as well. Like, that's the reason you start a game studio, is one day to get acquired. And you don't do that if there's no chance of you getting acquired, because there's no more Microsofts out there. So this is the way the system is supposed to work. It's a bit perverted, a little bit perverse, but it is the way it's supposed to happen. And for me, I think today I'm more hopeful about the future of Activision than I have been for the last several years. So, and that's kind of where I tried to like leave the story. Is like I think this is mostly hopeful, even if it's sort of like might leave a bad taste in your mouth. I get that as well.
I appreciated that ending because the opposite of an acquisition or consolidation is folks leave. They close. We've seen a lot of developers just close, and that happens. And we've seen it happen at Activision, where if a game doesn't perform well, they have massive layoffs, incredible layoffs. We've seen those stories written, from Bloomberg and Kotaku for years. Every time a game where somebody doesn't get bonuses and all the managers get bonuses, they fire all the developers. Like, we've seen this for some time now. And
Activision's like worse than that, actually. Activision is pretty, from what I've heard, a lot of developers that work there, a lot of people that worked at the corporate on the corporate side say it's a pretty rotten place, and it's always been rotten for going on a decade and a half longer than that, and they just had no intention of ever improving it. So, all signs point to Microsoft being at least better than that. And that's a lesser evil is still kind of evil. Well, I don't know. To me, I think most people seem pretty happy working at Microsoft. And if they don't want to work there anymore, they can leave. And there's a lot of money out there to go start your own studio. So I would encourage people, if they're not happy to go from Activision to Microsoft, go do that. No one's going to stop you.
Yeah.
I can't imagine not being happy to go from Activision to Microsoft with the way Activision has been trending.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Before I move into these topics, I wanted to ask you, there were other bidders than Microsoft too. I saw EA has been floated around. I don't know if Tencent was involved, but I mean they've got the whereabouts to do something like this.
I mean, I think that they were probably. I mean, Tencent was an investor in Activision. I would assume that they would know about this at a certain point. My hunch here is that like everyone's always talking to everybody. There's teams at these companies that are always looking at acquisitions. Like that's just their job, is mergers and acquisitions. And you work at these companies and you say like what can we do here? Who can we merge with? Who can we acquire? My guess here is the only real serious offer probably was Microsoft, even though it's a lot of money. Like that at a certain point, that money is bidding against the public investors. Like you're not really even bidding against other people, other companies that are going to try to acquire it. You got to keep these that they're getting.
I don't know what happened.
You break it,
Jeff. I left you at even though it's a lot of money.
Even though it's a lot of money, they're bidding against the public investors because you got to convince the investors to come in and sort of get that money. Say that's enough money to sort of give up their shares. A controlling share in the company. So yeah, it's I would be surprised if EA's bid was anywhere near what Microsoft was bidding.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's talk about these topics I want to bring up with. And honestly, I just want to address the elephant in the room because this is going to be the hot topic that people are going to talk about for the next 18 months. Is this exclusivity? What does this mean for PlayStation going forward? What does this mean for Xbox going forward? And I just happen to have two of our most PlayStation-centric gamers with us. So, Delvin, let me start with you. Let's get you in the pod. What did you think of this news, and what do you think it means in terms of exclusivity moving forward?
I think it's great news for the people who work at Activision, of course, but also I look at it like this is, at the end of the day, this is a business, and I know that Xbox didn't pay this amount of money to not make money off Activision, so of course there's going to be some things that's going to be exclusive, and I think that comes with the business of it, because at the end of the day they're trying to make money, they're trying to make a profit, they're not doing this out the goodness of their heart. They see value in Activision and their properties. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of things that's going to be exclusive, and maybe not. It all depends on what is in Microsoft's best interest at this point in time and how they can re-up this money probably as soon as possible, I would like to think.
Okay. I do like that you say that Microsoft sees value in Activision because they bought them at $95 a share. That's about $25 higher than it's currently trading for, about $30 or $40 higher than it was trading for a few weeks ago. But I think there's people at Microsoft that would tell you that they bought this at a discount because it's traded higher than that. And typically when you make an acquisition, you pay higher than the market valuation. There's lots of people floating tweets this week, and you're seeing them being retweeted of how much each company's worth, market cap. Like that's not how much it costs to buy said company. Because you're not just buying them at their current stock value. You're buying potential revenue down the road.
Yep.
You know, like
Well,
Activision has brands. Call of Duty could make money for 100 years.
Yeah, Bethesda was a private company, but like, you know, the general acceptance was like it was valued at about $1 billion, and they paid $7-8 billion for it. So yeah.
So Microsoft bought this at a value that they've actually traded less than, and I think Microsoft probably sees this as a nice long-term play. But Dev, exclusivity, man, what are you thinking?
I mean, like Paris Lilly said, you don't buy Bethesda for $7 billion to, you know, put your games on other consoles. I feel the same way about this. If you don't spend $7 billion, you definitely don't spend $68 to go ahead and float your games to other consoles.
Somebody just dropped $70 billion.
$70 billion.
Not stock options, not bonds, not loans, not a 30-year plan. Just here's your money. Please go away.
Right,
wow.
If the goal is to make money, right? Like there's other ways to make money. If you are trying to shape the industry and sort of bend sentiment and bend people to like moving people is an expensive thing because people like just stick to their momentum. They do what they are used to. People are going to play on PlayStation because they've been playing on PlayStation. They've been happy. There's no reason to change. How like if you want them to move, you've got to be willing to spend a lot of money and hit them in their pressure points. And that's I mean, this is what this is. I don't like otherwise. You know, like there's other way. Like, yeah, listen, this is an investment as well because there's not a lot of places to put your money. Microsoft has a lot of money in the bank. Interest rates are really low. So, like, yeah, this money's going to start working for them immediately. It's going to start making them more money than they would have, like, on a 0.1%, like a bond, like from a municipal bond or whatever. So yeah, there's that side of it. But really, this is about hitting people in their pressure points. I think you're right.
Yep. Okay. It's going to do one of two things. It's going to either force people to, we're going to go play on Xbox, or it's going to bring Sony to the table to be like, okay, let's see about getting Game Pass on our system because we don't want to lose all of these people. You think about how many units Call of Duty alone moves on PlayStation. So PlayStation doesn't want to lose those customers. So it's like, okay, we either got to figure something out to try to retain those customers, or we got to, you know, come to the table with Microsoft and see about getting Game Pass, because not only then will we get Call of Duty, we're going to get all of the other games that we've lost from Bethesda. So we're going to be able to get back Wolfenstein, and we're going to be able to get back Doom and all of the other properties that we're losing. So I think this really is Microsoft forcing PlayStation's hand and finding a way to shape the gaming industry in their image of Game Pass.
Yeah.
Yep. The Netflix of gaming. The points that I wrote down for exclusivity is, I did write this down, my first bullet point. Call of Duty might be too big to be an exclusive. I know there's a lot of people however you want to see the argument, you can bend the argument your way, right? A lot of people may say the same thing about Elder Scrolls. The argument that'll be made is Elder Scrolls doesn't come out every year. And Elder Scrolls hasn't topped the chart every year for the last 15 years. You know, like Call of Duty is a juggernaut. And it may hurt the Call of Duty branding to make it exclusive. It may do more harm than good. Whereas I don't see making Doom exclusive hurting Doom more than it helps Game Pass. Making Call of Duty exclusive, I think, could hurt Call of Duty more than it helps Game Pass. But I did also write, I think Xbox has shown a willingness to support other platforms. Everybody's going to point at Minecraft. I would also point at Ori. But I think more than that, you look at what they're doing on Steam. Steam is another platform that Xbox publishes their games on. It just happens to be the PC platform that Game Pass is also available on, right? Mm-hmm. So I do agree with you, Devin. I think this could pave the way for that. But at the end of the day, if they chose not to, and I'm not saying they are, because I don't know, and I'm not going to spend the next 18 months of my life arguing for it, because I said they weren't going to do it. I said they weren't going to do it with Bethesda, and we had to have that argument for a year. I'm not doing it again. I ain't got that kind of energy. So I don't know what they're going to do. But I do want to say that if they kept publishing Call of Duty on PlayStation consoles, just say if they did, there's plenty of ways to still make that very advantageous for Game Pass and Xbox. You can still do all the time stuff that they've been doing with PlayStation and Xbox, right? The exclusive modes, exclusive maps, exclusive skins, timed exclusivity. You could do all of that. Plus, you've got the marketing tie-in. Every event, every commercial is Xbox. And you've got Game Pass. You can still push Game Pass. You can pay $70 to play it, or you can subscribe to Game Pass.
That's my biggest thought. Like, go ahead and keep putting it on PlayStation, because just charge them $70 and then put it on Game Pass, and you get both spectrums of it.
Yeah.
Make all of the stuff that was exclusive to PlayStation, all the stuff that comes first, just make that stuff come first to Xbox, and you'll be able to rope in all of those people who are just gonna be like, oh, I don't have to pay for it, no problem.
The casuals are gonna move.
Yeah, and all the people who have that fine line in the sand, like, I'm not buying an Xbox or I'm not getting Game Pass, they can still get it on PlayStation. So you're able to rake in that cash as well, because I kind of feel like if you put Call of Duty solely on Game Pass, how much revenue are you losing by doing that?
A lot. It's a lot.
A lot of
It's
money.
a significant a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot more than Elder Scrolls.
Oh,
like
yes. Yeah, definitely.
They're not the same things. I've seen a lot of people
No.
say that, and they're not the same things.
No,
It's
completely different.
significantly more.
Now, I will say that there are some ways that they could thread this needle, and I think the biggest thing is right now for a lot of Call of Duty fans, Call of Duty is Warzone. I think there's no chance Warzone comes off of PlayStation. Warzone will continue. If they release a new free-to-play Call of Duty shooter battle royale thing, that'll also go to PlayStation. I have no doubts about that, actually.
Yeah.
I think what would happen though is maybe when Microsoft takes over, Microsoft says, hey, guess what, everybody? We are going to take a 1-year breather from Call of Duty, and we're going to give it a year off. Everyone think, hey, we've been doing too much. Yeah, we agree. We're going to let these studios recharge, come up with a big idea. We're going to take a year off. In the meantime, Warzone's going. Warzone's going. And you treat Call of Duty Warzone as this main thing. That's still on PlayStation, no problem. And then when Call of Duty comes back, it'll have this huge amount of hype, and there you could decide it's only going to be on Game Pass and Xbox and anywhere where Game Pass is, and you can pay $60 for it if you want, wherever you play it, but it's got to be a place where Game Pass is. And I think right there is when you force Sony to make. This is like me speculating. I have no idea.
Yeah,
this
sure.
is hypothetical, but I think they have to decide. Like, and I would imagine like a big part of this is like they got a good deal. They went for it. They're like, we will make some of these decisions as we go along. We have a pretty good idea of what we want to do, but Call of Duty is going to be a tough nut to crack. We're going to have to like wait to see until we can talk to those studios and really kind of see how they're doing, see what their future looks like. But also, we have a pretty good idea how we want to use this, but we're not sure. And I think they're going to have a little bit of time now to decide, like, do we actually use this? I talked about pressure points. Do we use this? Like, do we try to manipulate Sony into like saying this is the time right now? One of the biggest, like the biggest game on your platform. They're like the number 1 and number 3 best-selling games on PlayStation in the United States last year. Are we going to use this against you in our bargaining sort of tactic here, or are we going to say, okay, we'll let this one slide because it's so big, but we're gonna keep peeling people off because they're going to see that it's cheaper over on Xbox. I don't know if that really achieves their strategic goals, which is to grow Game Pass,
Correct,
and it is to grow like sort of the appeal of Game Pass to other other companies, and other platform holders, and say, hey, you want Game Pass on your system. So. I don't know. It's a tough one. I agree with everything you're saying, because like it is a service game, and you think service games might still be multi-platform, so it's really tough. It's really tough to know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it is a juggernaut. I had a point that I was saving later, but I think it plays right into what you were saying. Today, GamesIndustry.biz had an interview where they had one of these regulator lawyers chime in, and he said that he thinks that if Microsoft's plan is to keep Call of Duty exclusive, that could hold up this deal from finalizing through antitrust oversight. My question to that, he didn't answer, and I wish GamesIndustry.biz would have asked the question. The follow-up question should have immediately been, what if Xbox's response is, we will happily put Call of Duty on PlayStation if they allow Game Pass to be on PlayStation? Does that get Xbox through? Because I don't think Xbox has an unwillingness to put their games on PlayStation. I think they would happily put their games on PlayStation if they could put Game Pass on PlayStation.
Yeah, and I don't think that even comes close to antitrust or monopoly. It really doesn't. Not by definition. Like,
I agree.
They'll be able to point to say there's a million, like more games are coming out than ever. More games from companies that aren't owned by Microsoft are releasing every year. And yeah, a lot of those are small companies, but every company's small until it's big. And Valheim was a hit out of nowhere last year, and no one knew about that before. And things are still happening on Steam that we have no control over. Like it's happening on our open PC platform, and we have no control over it. Like this is a vibrant ecosystem. Like that's not going to be an issue for them. Not for this.
Yeah. And obviously the call for it being exclusive is if they do make the call and they say, hey, this next campaign, Call of Duty Black Ops 15 or whatever, is exclusive to Game Pass, it still is the most widely accessible platform in the world. It's streamable. It's on PC. It's on tablets. It's on phones. It's on Xboxes. It's on old Xboxes, on new Xboxes. Like, you can get in for as little as a $15 investment or as much as a $600 investment. Like, they can reach everyone. And I do think that pressure point is the right. Do you apply? I think it would be a mistake if they didn't at least apply some of that pressure, just to weigh it, just to see. You know, like, you got to at least test it. Maybe some sort of timed exclusivity. Like, look, I understand there's people out there that don't want to buy our console, but you don't have to. Play on your PC, play on your phone. You know, like, would they be willing to have a Game Pass subscription?
And I think they'd make it clear that they would be like, okay with Sony letting Game Pass on there. Like, it's Sony holding us up. It's Sony saying no.
Exactly.
I think they'll make that clear at a certain point and say, hey, if you want Call of Duty, like, don't talk to us. You can go. Here's Sony's Twitter handle. Go talk to them, and yeah, they'll play that pretty well as well. I think.
The real question is, what does Sony have to lose by putting Game Pass on their system? Because quite honestly, Microsoft doesn't have to lose for Sony to win. They can both win. Like, they need to get out of this mentality of we have to be number one. Like, there's so much money in this industry that we can go ahead and both win. If you put Game Pass on PlayStation, you don't lose anything. You actually gain things, because you're also able to be like, look, we'll put Game Pass on our system, but we want this amount. We want this amount of these sales.
Right.
You
And
know
they
what I'm
could
saying?
say, like,
you
no
still
third-party games, right? They could say only first-party Microsoft games, things that you own.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise, like, we'll get these third-party things on our system, and we'll have our own deals with them. So, but I mean, Microsoft will have enough games that are first-party at that point that they'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. That's fine with us. You know, and then maybe they just will be able to, maybe it's like no Game Pass Ultimate. It's just the $10 a month tier or something like that. But Microsoft is not going to care sort of like what the first deal is. They just want to get the foot in the door. It might be bad terms, that first deal, but once it's in there, there's not going to be taking the toothpaste out of the tube. It will not go backwards. It will
It's Netflix. I mean, I know people say that, but think about Netflix is ubiquitous. Netflix and Amazon are rivals, but Netflix is an app that's on Fire
TV.
You know, like that's it. Like, that's the thing. Netflix is on your iPhone. It's on your Google. That's the play here. Is Xbox wants to be that. It's way beyond boxes.
It's a new way to win the living room.
I will say this. If I was Sony, why would I, if I'm developing Spartacus for my console, why would I want Xbox Game Pass on my system when that
I'm sure you don't. But the question is, does not having Call of Duty, Doom, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, like, does missing that, is there enough content that you're doing yourself a disservice by not playing ball?
Yeah.
Are you hurting yourself? Are you losing customer base and engagement by not playing ball here?
And I think like Spartacus will exist. Like, Spartacus already exists in a form. Like, PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now are already there, and they already have subscribers. And I don't think if Game Pass were to be available, I'm subscribed from other movie services when I add a new one. I don't. I think most people are like me, where like, I already have this stuff. I don't want to lose it, but I do want to add another thing. And once I sort of like broke that threshold, I broke sort of that seal of becoming someone who subscribes to things. It's like, well, what's another subscription at this point? I think that's like a mentality that Sony could recognize, that if we bring Game Pass on here, all we're going to get out of it is 30% of whatever, like, of the subscription cost or whatever deal they work out. All we get out of it is more money, and then also we get some Spartacus subscribers as well, because they're going to have different games on them. Like,
you're probably going to have Spartacus for online play if you're wanting to play Call of Duty.
Exactly, right. It's going to be like built into that, right?
It's advantageous for them if you partnered it with your subscription. You're like, hey, if you want to play online, you need PlayStation Plus.
What's one of the main reasons people have PS Plus right now? Call of Duty. Call of Duty. A huge number of people that subscribe to PS Plus is so they can play Call of Duty online on PlayStation. Like, that PlayStation Plus number is gonna take a dive. Like, it is, if Call of Duty isn't available. So it's like, there are so many reasons to make this happen now, and that's why this whole thing is happening. And at a certain point, like, the reason that Sony was against it, kind of like a little bit of stubbornness, a little bit of like reasonable sort of competitiveness, that stuff's kind of like doesn't make a lot of sense now, when it's like, okay, now it's just going to hurt us if we keep this off of here. At least that's how I view it.
I agree, 100%.
I do too. I do want to ask, I know none of us know, but I want to ask, especially Jeff, because we've got him. Do you think they will?
That's
like the $1 million question, right? Like, is Sony like,
Sony's
too
stubborn.
stubborn to do this?
Stubborn.
Very stubborn.
But they're also shrewd. They're very smart. They know what they're doing, but they are stubborn as well. Like, and that stuff a lot of that stuff goes hand in hand. It's well-earned stubbornness because they've succeeded, and like the way they it's the European leadership that's now in charge of all of Sony, and the way they've dominated Europe. They've earned a lot of this, this confidence that they have. But I think that there are going to be a lot of very hard conversations happening. I know for a fact that there's a lot of panicking happening at many publishers right now, not just at Sony. Like across the board, people are freaked out by this. I don't know what that's going to turn into. It's still very early, but people are panicking. So like, I think there's a chance for like people to like come to have like a come to Jesus moment where they're like, well, listen, the old ways just got thrown out the window. The thing we thought never could happen just happened. We need to reassess every single one of our positions. And I think that there is a chance that Sony, reads my article about how they should do this, which I posted today as well, and it has those hard discussions themselves and just says, I think like this is inevitable. It feels inevitable. So why don't we just do it now while PlayStation 5 continues to easily outsell the Xbox? Why don't we do it now when it's like we still have quite a few bargaining chips? You look at what happened with like movie theaters where movie theaters like they were like so hesitant. They were stubborn as well with the movie makers and said, hey, we want a bigger piece of this pie, and they just never came to agreement. And then the pandemic hit, and they had no more bargaining chips, and now they're screwed, and they're going to get a worse deal than they ever would have got if they would have just made a deal then. And I'm not saying it's not going to happen like that with Sony, but they are every day that goes by. Every time we get closer to Call of Duty not coming to PlayStation, every time, like 5 years from now, I think Sony will be in a worse position when it comes to bargaining. So just do it now. Get it over with.
Do it now while you have leverage. While you have the leverage.
And tell your fans that this is not that big a deal. You're winning. You get all the Xbox games and all the PlayStation games. And I mean, you
still get God of War, but you also get Call of Duty and Elder Scrolls and Starfield and everything else.
I think Microsoft would agree with that. Yes, I mean,
oh my God, can you imagine?
Yeah, it's like,
look, they have Crash, so give us Gears.
Do it. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, a talent trade would be a lot of fun to talk about. That's neither here nor there. Jeff, my next question you segued perfectly, is I wanted to ask you, what do you think this means for the gaming landscape? What does it mean for Xbox and PlayStation, other publishers? So you said the other publishers are panicking. Yes. I want to dive into that. Why? What exactly has them?
I will say that I'm not exactly sure because they're freaking out so much that they are afraid to like say exactly what they're thinking. All I'm kind of getting is like, yeah, we are panicking, is what people are telling me. My hunch here is that, and I'll go into this more on Grubbs next, but I'll give a little preview here. Basically, if you look at what Microsoft's strategy here, and this is where we can get in a little bit of concern trolling and a little bit of slippery slope arguments and fear about what this could mean for the industry and stuff. But I think a $68 billion acquisition can warrant a little bit of fear mongering. Let's go for it. So, Microsoft is probably playing a box out strategy where they're like, we have enough money that we can stop anyone else from coming in and starting their own subscription service so that we just own this landscape. And there's multiple ways we could do this. We can just own most of the content, or if you do start your subscription service, well, we're going to pay you money to put it in ours. And then if you take it out, it's going to feel worthless compared to what it was before, because it's like, man, I used to get this part of Game Pass. Now I'm not going to subscribe to EA Play by itself. That's worthless to me. And now EA Play cannot sort of extract itself from Game Pass. Ubisoft is getting closer and closer to that. Maybe they do that, but they definitely see the writing on the wall. Like, once they do that, you're not getting back out. Yeah. So Microsoft is spending money to sort of play this box out strategy and making sure that no one else could sort of own this future of what also seems inevitable, a subscription model. That doesn't mean buying games will go away, but this is going to be a huge part of the revenue of gaming. And I think these companies are like looking around and saying, wait, what can we possibly do to be a player in this future? Or are we just going to be subservient to this gatekeeper that is Microsoft and Game Pass? I think that's probably the conversation that's happening right now. And to me, I don't know what the answer to that is. I think the likely scenario here is Microsoft has clearly made a bet that indicates they are going to be doing this play for at least the next decade. For at least the next decade, they are going to be trying to make this work. So you have to worry about at least Microsoft. There's also Tencent out there, and Google still doing something, and Amazon.
But
you know Microsoft is right there, and so how can you establish yourself? And there's no obvious answer to that, and that's why they're panicking, I think.
I think Microsoft sees this as a moment. They have cornered a market. Like, they got left behind on the mobile side.
Yep.
Like, they got missed out on a lot of things. They were kind of late, like social networking they were late to. You know, they missed on Twitch. Like, they firmly are like, this is it. This is our Netflix moment. And they are going for it, like full hard. They're going for
and
it.
Like, they know they're one of the only companies that can really do it, that has the capital, that has the vision, that has a brand that is at least somewhat well-liked in gaming and stuff like that. So it's like, it's not like a Google Stadia. This is Xbox. People respect Xbox. And they have the back end. They have Azure. They have all these services, and they're a service company. And so the people that are in charge of Microsoft are like, hey, if you can make a service that's going to get a lot of subscribers, we know how to make that work long term. So if anyone has any ideas in the gaming department, it's like, oh, okay, we were about to be spun off or sold, and now let's go for this. This could work. We don't even want to make games anymore, because like Phil Spencer's like, people play Destiny for 700 hours. Why am I going to make a game someone puts down in a weekend? And then suddenly it clicks into place. Oh, wait, what if they're playing a bunch of different games in this one service? I think you're absolutely right. They see this as a chance to get ahead of something, and they are putting all of their resources into it. And it's scary, I think, to a lot of these companies that are like, we were happy with business as usual, and we're used to the disruption coming from the outside, someone new coming in, not like someone who we've been a partner with for 20 years suddenly standing up and being like, you're mine now. I have $68 billion. You're mine now. So I don't blame them for panicking, and really, but also at a certain point, it's a mess of their own making. A lot of these companies have had a lack of vision. I think that Activision was definitely the worst, but Ubisoft and EA and Take-Two aren't much better in terms of like their belief in video games and putting out a lot of games and sort of like and dictating like what the future of games could be. They've sort of just been happy to do business as usual, and now someone's coming along and pushing them to the side. And yeah, they should be scared, I think.
They flipped the table. I've been saying this since Phil Spencer got there. I mean, I think this is old news to our most listeners, but I've been saying this for a while. They got beat at their game, so they flipped the game board. They started a new game. That's what they've done. They've just changed the game, and I thought that Bethesda was the moment for the industry to wake up to that, and it doesn't seem like it, because a lot of the same articles are being written and published today that were written and published a year ago, and it's like, I still don't think it's reverberated down. It hasn't really reached people. People have yet to really fully not grasp, because I think they understand the concept, but adopt the concept. Like, people aren't embracing it. It's a new normal. It is a new normal. It's not a theory. It's not a projection anymore. It's now. This is a new normal. This is the future. This is what games will be like going forward. And you'll either have to get on board or get left behind.
Same way I turn on my TV and I've got Paramount Plus and Netflix and HBO Max and all of that.
Like, do you remember making those decisions to get those things? Because I don't, and I subscribe to all of them. And I'm like, I don't remember what
everything.
I did. It just happened.
I want to watch Yellowstone. I gotta get this Peacock subscription. But it's a Paramount show. What kind of crazy? Why is it on Paramount Plus? Because I subscribe to that. Sense. So this is the same thing. You're going to have the Ubisoft subscription. You're going to have probably a Tencent subscription because they own freaking everything. Right. And then you have Game Pass. Right. And then you've got PlayStation Plus. So you've got all of these different services that you're going to have living on your console or PC or in the cloud for you to pull these games from.
I feel like the Tencent play has been underreported here. Tencent's been on a spree.
It's because they don't say anything.
Investment spree. They've got 10% of everything.
Buy. They don't make any noise. They don't say anything. They're just like, here's a little cash.
They just swim and eat. Pick up this. Swim and eat, swim and eat and swim and eat. And it's like they're a machine. It's not a spree at a certain point, because it's like, it's just who they are, because they've been doing it for like 5 years straight. Yeah. It's like increased, over the last little bit, but like 80 investments or acquisitions or something like that in like the last 12 months or something like that. The reason it's underreported is because it's really hard to sort of put a narrative behind it, because the real story is, this is how Chinese companies operate. They make a lot of minority investments in a lot of different companies, and then they stand back and they let those companies work. Now, Tencent does make some bigger acquisitions in terms of like, they'll take a controlling interest, or they will just fully acquire a company. They've done that. But for most companies, they are making like a 30-40% acquisition, or like a 4% acquisition if it's something like Activision or Ubisoft. And then they just stand back and they just wait and see what they're going to do with that stuff. And they just got their fingers in so many pies. Eventually something's going to pop off, and then they cash in. So
if the play in the future, if the future play is content delivery and how much content do you own, as we see like in today's streaming market, like content is king, then somebody like Tencent is a serious threat. Like if you're sitting there and if you put yourself in Microsoft shoes, you're like, we can't sit here and be idle. They're buying 10% stake in everything that we want to have a part of. You know, like I know for the console landscape, because we love video games so much, it's so often that we just pit Sony and Microsoft against each other, but they're like higher forces at work here than consoles, I think. And I just think it's an interesting part of this story.
Well, it's actually happening everywhere, really. It's happening in music right now. There are a lot of companies buying up artists' masters, essentially, so they're hoarding the masters for their own, to make profits off of it. It's a big thing in music right now. They're having the same exact conversation where investment companies are just buying like Lil Wayne Solus masters for essentially pennies of what it's going to be worth further down the line to these streaming companies. So
just really entertainment overall.
Yeah, it's happening on all of entertainment.
Before we get off this topic, I wrote down, obviously, I think this is proof that Microsoft is here for the long haul. That was in question 8 years ago, and it was can no longer be in question anymore. I got 2 more points. While obviously I think our focus is consoles because we love video games, we love playing our consoles. I think this deal does way more for Microsoft in the PC and mobile market. Microsoft doesn't really have much of a mobile play in terms of gaming or entertainment at all, and it does now. It's got Call of Duty Mobile, and it's got King and Candy Crush. Like these are gigantic.
Candy Crush Saga has been the number 1 most profitable game on mobile since 2012. I remember when I stopped like writing about mobile games a lot because it's like, man, the same games have been at the top of the charts for like the last 4 years, and now we're 6 years later and it's still the same games. At a certain point, like King just has the formula and they know how to capitalize on it and keep it going. And it's like, I think really that's what made this irresistible to Microsoft is they wanted mobile. They definitely wanted in mobile in some way. And you're right, like this gives them so much coverage of that space. They have King, Call of Duty Mobile. They're gonna have Diablo Immortal real soon.
Diablo.
I bet World of Warcraft ends up on phones in the next 3 years or something like that.
I was gonna say the cross pollination potential to have developers at King be able to do something with franchises like Halo or Gears or Call of Duty or World of Warcraft. Like they also have the IP to leverage that resources to even do more than they're doing now. Is a big play, and then also obviously with Blizzard. Now PC Game Pass has a real jolt of energy, and then you've got to wonder what do they do? What do they do with BattleNet?
BattleNet's still got.
You roll BattleNet into Game Pass.
Oh, I think you roll Game Pass into BattleNet.
Yeah, I think you roll Game Pass into BattleNet. I agree.
I think you roll Game Pass into BattleNet.
Yeah, I think if you
just a launcher.
I think if you add $5 to your subscription for World of Warcraft, you get Game Pass. And if you get Game Pass Ultimate, I think you get World of Warcraft. And I think that
is easy money.
Send you over to BattleNet, and they just start putting games on there because they've already set that system up to work that way.
I like the BattleNet launcher better anyway. God, I hate the Game Pass launcher so much.
For real. And I think Blizzard fans might not be super stoked on that, but also it's like if Microsoft begins investing in that game and give it a chance to like get rejuvenated, the 1 million people that are still subscribing or whatever will be like, whatever. Just, this is fine. Just go ahead and put other games in there. We don't actually care all that much.
Man. Easy money. Chaffee, man. What are you hating for? You don't like my cross-pollination comment? It's good stuff. SAT words for you, man. Study it. Look it up. So I asked, what does this mean for us as the consumer? For me, I can't speak to these other two. They're flunkies. Don't hold it against them.
Gotcha.
My Game Pass subscription that I've been hoarding forever just got more increasingly valuable. Like I said, I've been playing the futures market on Game Pass. I'm going to keep buying the 3 months for one deal, as many as they keep offering. I'm just going to keep stashing
where you got it from.
Because
well, you can't. You have the worst luck.
Yes.
They're going to raise the price on Game Pass.
I mean, the price gets raised on everything eventually. We're paying $70 for games. That was not how it was when I was a kid. But they, I think they're still going to be. It's at least a year before they raise the price on anything. They are still smarting from raising the price on Xbox Live Gold, and they don't want to be associated with that. They're going to wait a little bit and kind of get to a point where Starfield is on there, and then they've closed the Call of Duty deal, the Activision deal, and then they'll look around and say, okay, now here's $2 more a month you have to pay us, and everyone will be like, okay, at that point, because
just like Netflix just did.
2023 will be fully like happening at that point, and that's what we'll be getting. Perfect Dark probably getting stuff like Avowed and things, Fable. All those things could still come out that year, and it's like if that's the case, then everyone's going to just be like, this is easily worth, $12.99 a month or $17.99 a month or whatever. So yeah, they'll get to that point eventually.
Sure. I really want Microsoft to now do an IP for like a kart racer. They have the players. They have the players to do it now. Like now you have a full stable of folks that an Xbox kart racer sounds amazing. I know everybody wants to go the Smash route. I am not there. Smash is Smash. I don't think there'll ever be another Smash. But a kart racer,
they could
like
just
if they did a Crash Team Racing,
a violent Smash with Doom Guy and with Master Chief, and let them get like a little bit more violent than what they would get in Smash, and it'll be like with actual blood and stuff. I mean, I think that could work.
I do think there's a lot of extra characters that could join like a Killer Instinct. I think that makes sense.
Well, yeah, for sure.
But a kart racer, man, I think this could be great. No,
I believe you. I believe you.
I believe you. I just could care less about a kart racer.
Marcus in the cart.
I'm gonna work my PlayStation folks back in. If Call of Duty goes exclusive, I wrote down that in terms of what this could do for me is I would really like to see PlayStation reinvest into a first-person shooter by either resurrecting one of their franchises that they've done in the past or maybe creating a new one. I think the PlayStation of today would probably create a new one versus resurrecting an old one, but you guys know me. I love Killzone, and I would love to see Killzone come back. Have you guys put any thought into that? Like, if Call of Duty does go exclusive, do you think they try to offer something there to weigh it out, or do you think that's not our game? We don't do that.
I don't know, because the thing with Call of Duty is it's really about the multiplayer. It's not so much people are going to be hurting because the campaign is gone. It's can you come up with the first person shooter that matches Call of Duty's multiplayer? And Killzone, while it had a nice little like subset of people playing
it's not the same.
It wasn't that. So I don't know if them dipping in and creating another first person shooter really fits that mold. I mean, there's so many things they could do. Like SOCOM, you could bring back SOCOM, you could bring back Resistance, you could bring back Killzone, but if they don't have a multiplayer aspect that draws people in to keep them playing, it's not really gonna matter that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of agree. I think that Sony's kind of they've always did this. They rely on third party to kind of fill that base out in terms of those first person shooter games and things like that. And, they still have, while it's not a first person shooter, they still have Fortnite. They still have other things people play.
They'll still have Warzone.
Yeah. Sony's whole thing is let's make these big budget third person action games that are going to like critically acclaimed that people are going to come and play for us on our console. So I don't know if they would go back to making Killzone. As much as I love Killzone, I don't see them doing it, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah. If anything, I could see a return to SOCOM, and that kind of fills the void of missing like all of the Bethesda shooters. So since we aren't going to get a Wolfenstein, you're not going to get any of those games. You could bring back a SOCOM or a Resistance or something just to fill that void of having the campaign shooter.
And people have been asking for those, so that makes sense to me.
Everything except Days Gone. I did want to point this out because there's been a lot of fear mongering. And Jeff, I think you're right to point out that some of it's warranted. I've been seeing a lot of it from some of our PlayStation friends, and I don't think that's nearly as much as warranted. And I think that's maybe to be unexpected, but I don't really see this as I want to be clear. Call of Duty is a giant needle mover, and it will move the needle. There will be players that buy an Xbox because that's the best place to play Call of Duty. Don't get me wrong. It will be felt. It will be felt. It will be felt. But it's not the end of the world.
No.
You only need to look at Nintendo to see an entire platform that thrives without Call of Duty. Like, it's not necessary for success. I definitely 100%, I've been saying this for a long time now, Sony can 100% absolutely self-sustain with the franchises and the IP and the studios that they currently have. They still make the best video games in the world. Like, they still have Spider-Man. And just wait until, for all of this fear-mongering and like the sky is falling, Chicken Little stuff that's going on, give it 3 weeks and let Horizon drop.
Exactly.
And let's see if they still feel that way at all. All of the same
stuff.
stuff.
The stream, how good that game is, and it's gonna be and it's gonna be back to the old thing of just like we got the best games. It's fun.
People said all of this about Bethesda, and Xbox had this amazing Bethesda showcase and everything. And you fast forward a year, and I don't really know any PlayStation fan that really cares. Like, they kind of
time for an entry from Devs Boys, because Devs Boys are that person who are basically like, what are we gonna do here? Because they are not the people who care about Horizon. They are the Call of Duty.
Yeah,
They are
and there are a lot of
the EA guy. And all of my friends who actually play video games, like actual real life, I've grown up, they don't care about any of it. It's Call of Duty, it's Madden, it's 2K, and the occasional, maybe I'll play Uncharted, you know? So they're going to see this and be like, oh, now I got to get an Xbox. Or the people who are just like, I only want one console. I don't want to have to buy another console or play on PC. So like those people are definitely like feeling that like, I don't like this, because now you're taking away the thing that I like on the thing that I like, and now I have to go get another thing that I don't really care
think that's
about.
just motivation to buy the other thing, and I think that's good. That's good for business.
Yeah, you said
it's good for business,
Just get
but
both.
for that consumer base, that I feel like that fear and that anger is warranted, because that's how they feel.
Yeah.
But from a business standpoint, they don't care about that, because they don't read any of the stuff we read. None of my friends listen to our podcast. They don't know anything about the video game industry whatsoever. All they know is, oh, I saw this game. Tell me about this game? I think this looks cool. Or I'm getting a new Call of Duty.
This news? Has this news like filtered out to them because it's so big?
Yeah,
a lot of them had no idea.
It's on like regular. I saw it on regular TV today. Like,
okay,
it's a huge story. Like,
it wasn't on ESPN. So they have not seen it. I can tell you that.
Right. I think you're right though. There's a certain point where it's like people are going to feel frustrated by this because at a certain point people just like want to operate on that momentum that we were talking about earlier, and they just want to do what they're used to, and if something disrupts that, they're going to get mad, and I think that's totally fair. I think it's partially the point, because otherwise people are just going to stick to that momentum, right? So that's why Microsoft would do something like this to shift them. I think that very quickly though, if Microsoft wants to sort of make this hurt, they have to begin the thing of, we've talked to Sony repeatedly now. We've called them. We want these games to stay on PlayStation. These games are going to be wherever Game Pass is, and so it's up to Sony to make this happen. And I think if people start to hear that, it's very like if someone's like trying to like give you more content on your system that I already spent $500 on.
I think fans would turn.
Like it's like at a certain point it's like, Sony, just let them on here. Like,
I hope
I already paid you $500. Why are you making this more difficult for me? Like, I don't want to go buy an Xbox. So it's, I wonder when Microsoft decides to turn up the heat on that. I don't know when. I have no, like, who knows? But I would imagine that's like they have their finger over that button, ready to begin pulling that.
I agree with you. I hope it doesn't get to that moment. That's going to be ugly on Twitter.
I think that, right. And I think that the current leadership of Microsoft doesn't want that sort of ugliness. I wonder if they could find a way to phrase it in a way that better than I did. But it's going to happen eventually. But otherwise, the people are just going to kind of get left out in the cold here a little bit. And that's the point. And that's the way this business works. It stinks, but that's the way it is.
Sure. Well, other parts of this business that stink, speaking of the reputation that Activision Blizzard has had for the last few years, as we talked about earlier, what does this mean for them? They've been in the news a bunch. We've seen all the things from Bobby Kotick. And we're really happy to see, I think there's almost across the board jubilation. Whatever you think of Consolidation or Xbox or anything, everybody was happy. That's like, he's gone now. Now it sucks that he's gone getting a gigantic payday, but he owns so many shares and was so valuable that that's probably the only way he was ever going to go.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, he's gone. And hopefully, I would imagine a lot of the executive leadership is probably gone as they all kind of fall under Microsoft. I doubt there'll be a whole lot of people that'll be transitioning over. That normally doesn't happen. They'll keep the developers, they'll keep the workers, but the upper management, they're probably all gone.
Right. It's not. It won't be like Bethesda, where Bethesda, they're keeping almost everybody. It doesn't make sense to do that here. Also, it's like,
no.
There's not going to be as much work for you to do. A lot of those people are probably going to be heading out the door really soon.
Yep.
So hopefully this means that with new leadership and just a new oversight, that conditions improve. And you said it earlier, they almost have to. Like, there's no, I don't know. I don't want to say there's no going worse. I feel like I need to knock on wood when I say that, because you're
going to manifest some heinous shit.
Right.
You got to be careful.
I'm scared to even go that far, but things have to be improved.
There's got to be a reset of some cultures here.
Yeah, and I hope that it means that we get off of the annualization of Call of Duty. If
Please,
only
God.
Because Xbox doesn't need it. They already have like this semi-annualization reputation with Gears and Forza and that stuff. So like, I don't think dropping a Call of Duty every year makes a whole lot of sense for that. But at the same time, that's why Call of Duty is so valuable, because it drops
Right.
so often
It's,
to keep people playing. So I don't want to go as far as saying that they don't come out every year, but maybe like every other year, or just work in, or maybe
I think every
give
18
Raven or
months.
Treyarch a pet project here and there, like they're doing with
I think-
Gears and some stuff.
Every other year, I think, would be a good move for them, because you can then make Call of Duty more of an event. You can also, like, people are so upset with Vanguard's multiplayer. Like, they hate it. Everybody's all upset about, Warzone. Like, I have so many of my friends who play Call of Duty. They're just frustrated by the game and are not fans of it. There's so many hacks and just craziness going on. So if you can stop annualizing that franchise, give it an every other year, make Call of Duty more of an event, keep Warzone around, and for people who need that year-long Call of Duty fix, you just make Warzone the best thing it can be. And
Right,
then you
you
allow
really
all the
invest in
other
Warzone.
studios that you have constantly working on Call of Duty, allow them to make other games. Allow them to make what they want to make. So we can have some more
Toys for Bob
diversity.
Banjo-Kazooie remaster?
Yes,
I'm
now we're
saying,
talking.
like,
Yeah.
it just makes so much more sense. And quite honestly, the people who are going to play Call of Duty are still going to play Call of Duty. Like, they'll play it for 2 years and they will still keep playing Call of Duty, because that's just what they do.
There are still people on the Wii U. You can still get Call of Duty matches on Wii U. Mm-hmm. That's a thing. My son did it like last year. It's still a thing.
It's still running. Yep.
I am
Let
curious
Infinity Ward just man Call of Duty, please. Just let them do Call
Yeah,
of Duty.
maybe.
because the way their schedule works, wouldn't they be working on a Call of Duty game as we speak, like right now?
Oh yeah, they've got
yeah.
multiple games in the works
Yep.
right now.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, it's a 3-year development cycle. They're
so
all
would
working
they have to probably like either hold one back or, all right,
Well,
this
I mean-
one comes.
They've always been ready to like hold one back. I mean, that's kind of like what happened with the one that did that launch without a campaign. It's like they basically
Call of
held
Duty
that one back
Black Ops
because
4?
it's yeah, something like that. And they used a lot of that content for the next one or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how it ended up working, but I mean, they would just give it a little bit more time. They would just give it a little bit more time in the oven, I think. And I mean, I think probably the first couple, like, because next year's one is going to be Modern Warfare 2 again, and that one's going to come out because it's going to be before this Xbox merger, and it's going to be totally running on the same sort of strategic ideas that they had before this. After that, though, I would imagine that once Microsoft takes over, that next one will probably be so close to release, it probably will just still come out when it's supposed to. But I think they will look and say, okay, 2024's Call of Duty. Let's begin like really re-examining how we can make that even better. And do you need extra time? And I bet everyone involved will say, "Dear God, yes, please. Yeah, we'll take more time." So I think that's how it'll go.
No, I
We've
agree.
got enough games already coming out. It's okay. Let some stuff sit in the oven.
That's true.
It's
And that's
fine.
really true
It's
at that point.
fine.
And I also think it's worth pointing out that these studios, I know a lot of shade gets thrown at Call of Duty, especially from like the gaming Twitter zeitgeist, like this journalism influencer sphere, because it's annualized, because it's the same thing, Shooter Bros, all that. These are some of the best studios in the world. They make some of the best set pieces, and they have some of the best graphics and engines and gameplay design. I would love to see what they could do. Like, give them a pet project. Let them make something smaller for Game Pass. Let them make a Grounded. Let them do something weird. Like, I would totally be here for it, and I imagine that I'm not the only one. There's got to be a lot of people that, and like maybe if you just work in 1 year delay for everybody, maybe you can have a small team do a littler project while they continue to main Call of Duty. Because Call of Duty, it's got to be really, really tough. Jeff, you talked about them attracting talent as he pops out. Hopefully he comes back. It's got to be really, really hard to attract talent when you're doing Call of Duty indefinitely, forever. But you're not only are you doing Call of Duty the campaign forever, you've got the multiplayer, you've got the maps, you've got Warzone, you've got zombies, you've got Call of Duty Mobile. It's like the walls are closing in. It's everywhere. Like, it's almost like they need like an R&R. Like, it'd be great if you could just take a team, like every 4 years, you just get a rotation over at it or something. It's like, go
Right.
do something fun.
Well, I mean, you can offload some of the tech development onto id, like, because that engine's still basically
engine is
like at its heart, it's Tech
insane.
3. Like, it's been updated a million times, of course, but like id, like, just say, hey, id, what have you been working on? And it'll be like, yeah, we've hired a bunch of really talented technicians. Let's have some of this tech, and that could be in the next Call of Duty. You don't have to develop it yourself. Like, that'll be a huge help. So
Yeah.
like these things are just, I mean, it's hard not to look at this and be like, okay, I'm excited for everyone at Activision because they are going to kind of get a new lease on life and get a new chance. Like they are going to encounter new problems. It's just hard to predict what those are going to be right now. So it's just so easy to see all the upsides here. And I think for the most part, it's going to be all upsides, like in those early days.
Yeah. Hope they get a breather. Okay, before we get into consolidation, we got a question from John32. I guess my overall question would be, what do you think the acquisition of Activision or larger gaming entities in general by any company, is this a good thing for the industry as a whole or not? And Jeff, you talked about this a little earlier, just kind of the cycle of this development. The point that I made that I think plays into your point is I brought up PlayStation and like Firewalk. These are former COD developers. Like they have this new studio, Firewalk. Sony's given them seed money as they build a new project. That's how this works. Like somebody gets bought out, they make a game, the game hits, they get a lot of funding, they get bought out, and eventually that person leaves, starts another studio to start a new project. And that's just kind of the way this industry works. As we transition into the consolidation part of this, I did point out, the AAA, the rising development costs. We had Sean Layden, come out, I think, full stock last year. He said this is not sustainable. You look at models like Game Pass, you look at somebody that's got the capital to float hundreds of millions of dollars investment projects at Microsoft, and you see that as like the only path forward. The reason that I am not as, I think, scared of consolidation isn't because I'm an Xbox fan. It's because I see that as like a necessity, because the thing that I've been bringing up for a long time now is every time somebody brings up that this game cost $800 million to make or $500 million to make, or it had a $200 million budget, it's cool that the game had that much investment, that many people working on it, and it means it's going to be quality and good. That's awesome. But it also means that game has like no margin for error to miss.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because if it misses, they're never going to get another chance.
That studio's
every
gone.
risk is that much riskier,
It's
right?
hundreds of millions of dollars. Like you don't just miss and nothing happened. Like you're gonna.
And it's
lose
not just that
people.
game; it's all the other games too that are like being made by that company now. It's like if this game stinks, it's going to sink everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's how we've lost all of the AA studios.
Exactly.
Games cost so much to make, and there's so many games constantly coming out.
And that's why
if your game doesn't hit, that investment.
I think that's also why a lot of people are like, where are all of the new, inventive games? Like that's the reason we're not getting a lot of diverse projects. That's the reason Sony, the reason why Sony is owning third-person action adventure games, because they sell. They have built-in audience. It makes sense. That's what sells. So every time I look at that, I always say that it makes sense for somebody like a Microsoft or a Google or an Amazon or a PlayStation to fund these projects because they're like uniquely equipped to do it. If you want these big AAA, quadruple A, whatever you want to call it, if you want that big blockbuster experience at home that you're paying hundreds of dollars for, like this has to happen. Because every time EA misses, they're going to close down a studio.
Right.
Like it,
or they add some more, transactions to.
And every time Skylanders misses, somebody gets folded into Call of Duty. Like that's what happens.
Every time it goes below that, that operating income sort of magical number, whatever they choose it to be, it's like you are no longer in the club, and all that stuff is
depressing.
Like super. It's all super toxic internally too, right? If if that's your business model, because think about it, like your game has to be so profitable, and now the game that you're designing, that you're like, it's gonna be a cool game. There's gonna be an audience for this. Well, no, now it's got to be the entire world is the audience. You have to be universally appealing. So you kind of sort of have to like fudge it. And you have to say, no, this game could be this. And the person that's like doing the numbers, you got to convince him that it's going to do those numbers. And like, he's like, no, I know what this is going to do. And it's like, it creates all this animosity internally and distrust. And it's a bad incentive structure, basically. No one along anywhere in that chain is happy with the way that everyone's doing business, except for the person at the top who's like, hey, look at all these games that are going to get above, so much in profit or whatever. This is great, until the game doesn't actually do that, and he's like, well, that's a failure. We're not doing that ever again. We're not doing that ever again. What is reaching it? Just Call of Duty. Just Call of Duty. And so you end up with an Activision that's only making one game. And so many of these companies had this mindset. I mean, look
at the news coming out of Ubisoft.
Yes,
it's Creed
Ubisoft.
Infinite and Far Cry Destiny, and that's.
We are going to be making fewer games, and they're going to be more service-based games. EA was saying the same thing a few years ago, and recently they've sort of been like, okay, wait, we see how Resident Evil's selling. We have Dead Space. Let's do that. And it's like you had to be convinced to make another Dead Space. Like that doesn't make it like
So
we all know
ridiculous.
that Dead Space is going to do very well. We are not executives at these companies. We all know that. Why do you have to be convinced that this is a good idea? And yet they had to be convinced. They had to have Respawn have success with Star Wars, and then that was like, okay, that was enough. But that's where they're at. Like where they're so afraid of any of these risks, and so like, what is the alternative here? And that's why I'm not too worried about consolidation at the moment, because I think we are currently in the alternative to a consolidation. There's all these big companies, and they're operating on their own, and they're all trying to sell games in a market, and they are canceling each other out, and they're causing each other to be afraid of risk. And so, like, what can we do to change that? Well, let's try this subscription stuff. Let's see if that can work. Let's see if they can fund a bunch of different kinds of games. I don't know if it's going to work. It could fail still. But for now, I'm willing to see it out and see it through, because it's got to be right now. My belief is it's got to be better than what we have in terms of getting more better games.
And I agree with you. And I'm not trying to sway anybody out there that is worried about consolidation. I know the buzzword is going around. I think consolidation was trending on Twitter, actually. It's like, I know everybody's talking about it. I'm just trying to bring up that there is an alternative to consolidation. It's not just negative. You can't equate it one-to-one.
Right.
There's a positive outlook on consolidation as well. And the answer to consolidation is that nobody knows. It's up to Xbox as to whether or not this is going to be good or bad, and how they steward over these brands that they've acquired with Bethesda and Activision. If they run it like they ran Lionhead, it's going to be bad. But the hope is that they've learned their lesson, as they say they have, and they run it like they ran Double Fine and Mojang and everybody else they've acquired since Lionhead, which have been positive. And nobody will know that. Nobody will know that for 10 or 20 years. So,
and it could always go bad in the future. Like right now, it could
Don
be
Matrick
fine.
could come back.
Yeah.
Oh, God, no.
Phil Spencer could retire, and and Steve Ballmer comes back, and he's like, I don't understand games, but I'm in charge now. And it's like, okay, great, Steve.
Yeah.
But for now, it's like I'm willing to see this through, because at the same, like, acquisitions are going to happen, mergers are going to happen. Those things aren't going to be illegalized. Like, those things are going to continue to be a part of this industry, and it's because they need to be, because you have to have a belief when you start a company that there's going to be an exit. That's how you get investors. Like, the people that give you money to start a company, they're not giving you money because they want to come work at your company. They're giving you money because when you sell it 10 years down the line or whatever, they want to have a bigger payout. And it's like, and the only way they get that bigger payout is if there's someone like Microsoft at the end of the rainbow. And so the system is working. And if tomorrow, or after this acquisition goes through, if we wake up in a world where there is less innovation than there was the day before, okay, I will come back and say I was wrong. But it doesn't seem like we're getting a lot of innovation right now. So
We're not.
So let's let stuff go through. Let's see if maybe this can lead to a little bit more. And if it's wrong, then we'll have to try something else. And oh well, we're back where we started.
Yeah, and in terms of 70 billion, I'm really happy that at least this isn't like a frilly-nilly acquisition. Somebody new can't come in and just change everything. Microsoft is in deep. They're as in deep on gaming as they are on Windows.
Yes.
This isn't just a side part of the company anymore. This is a core pillar of their company. This is what Microsoft is doing. They do Azure, they do Windows, and they make video games. That's like their core principle
they have
now.
a very huge incentive to get this right.
To get it right, and to make sure that they don't appoint somebody that's going to get it wrong, because that's going to have dire ramifications. So I absolutely agree with you. In terms of 70 billion, there is a positive silver lining to thinking about it that way as well, because they are on the hook for it now.
It also puts a few warning shots across the bow of Google and Amazon, and it's like, okay, that Stadia shit, that your New World MMO, that stuff's cute, but if you're gonna come into games, you have to come you got to come correct. Like, you cannot come in with these half measures, these little steps, and be like, we're going to be a video game company. We just spent $68 billion on a video game company. How much money are you willing to put in there? And those companies are going to be like, not $68 billion. We're not
Microsoft
doing
did
that.
exactly what we wanted Google to do.
Google to do.
Throw your money around and make some shit happen.
And Google was like, we'll throw some money around, and we're going to do it in a very,
We'll
very
tiptoe.
stupid way.
We'll tiptoe into this,
Test
and
the
now
water.
we've screwed it all up.
Yep.
Stupid.
Okay. That's all that I had on everything on the points that I wanted to talk about. So does anybody... Oh, I got one more thing. I did right here at the bottom. Regarding antitrust and monopolies, because I think it has to be said, Jason Schreier seems to be throwing this in every tweet that he's throwing. I'm convinced it's just a fan like engagement on tweets. I'm convinced because if you look at the markets that we've seen, the cell phone market, ISP providers, entertainment, we've seen much bigger or like much more consolidated markets. Like you're talking about mobile phones as a market that it basically exists with like 2 companies that make up 95% of the market.
Right.
You know, like there are much more markets that I think quote unquote term monopoly. I think we throw that around way too easily.
I think if they were to acquire Steam, okay, maybe we can have that conversation because now they own Windows market. And they own the entire video game PC market at that point. And that's like, and I mean, Steam already kind of is getting close to it. Like it's like, it's not a monopoly, but it's damn close. It's really close. And that's why they are so careful about like not playing Gatekeeper. That's the real reason why they stopped playing Gatekeeper on like deciding what games can be on the service and not, because they didn't want to be the ones saying you could succeed or not as a video game, because they have that power. If they act on that power, that's scary monopoly stuff. So, but Microsoft does not have that power even with this thing. And I guarantee that the year after that this deal goes through, more video games will be released that year than the year before. And that's where the real it's hard to be an indie dev. And if Game Pass becomes like this, the way where everyone plays games, which I still think is a real long way off if that's going to happen, then there'll be like this one gatekeeper where if you don't get on Game Pass, you can't succeed. We're not there yet. And we won't be there because of this. And I honestly think that it's like most games that are going to sort of like come out as indie games are going to still succeed just fine on Steam and on Switch, just like they have been. And it's like there are so many ways to make a game that can be profitable and can be huge that it's really hard to say this is anything anywhere near antitrust or a monopoly. It just does not look like that at all to me.
100%. Games are a gigantic pie. The people that are saying that they're just so focused on their console and their traditional console war. And it's like, guys, phones, mobile market, PC market, streaming market, Netflix is making games. Like, are you crazy?
VR. There's so much more than your console.
We could consolidate the industry by 50% and we're still not close to a monopolistic entity. Like there's still a long way to go here. And even if you did that, what's to stop, Devolver or Annapurna rising up and becoming that next tier?
They are moving up. Embracer is getting bigger and bigger. Like I just if regulators do come and say, hey, we are going to look at this, Microsoft's going to have a very easy time of just pointing to all of these different companies. They're going to be like, here are a dozen companies at this scale. Here are 4 dozen at this scale. Here's a list of every game that came to Steam, and here's how many didn't come to Xbox. Look at this list of games that did not come to Xbox that you have to go play somewhere else. Here's how many games came to PlayStation. Here's like games that came to both Xbox and Play. Like there are so many ways to argue against that. It's not anywhere close. Like it's not gonna get to that point. Regulators are going to look at us and be like, no, this is fine. That's gonna be the reaction.
Is going bananas, and I love to see it. Like the chat is they're going as hard as they can to throw us off our game. And I got to tell you guys, we got to the end of my notes, my conversation, in 1 hour and 13 minutes, and that's pretty damn good. I didn't expect us to be here this soon.
We're speedy.
So good job. Very good job. Dev, she hit us with some Activision flavored questions.
Yeah, let's go. All right, so TPR says, is there a dormant Activision Blizzard franchise that you think Microsoft could run with and revamp? If so, which one? He says he's got to go with Spyro. He would love a new full-fledged Spyro to hit the ground running.
I'm telling you, Crash Team Racing with Spyro and all the other folks, you got a Doom guy and Halo and a Gears guy, like that sounds awesome.
Just say it, say Blinks.
But
so Microsoft All-Stars Battle Royale?
But a kart racer. But I'm not gonna lie. If this acquisition means Guitar Hero comes back, it will have been worth every penny, and I will give them all the money. Guitar Hero makes so much sense for Game Pass. Like a new model, you take the Rock Band 4 model and you make Guitar Hero and you put it in Game Pass. Oh,
can they afford the music licensing? That is the question.
They afforded Groove Music, and like there are many other plays into the music market. Like they had their Zune. They could afford to make Zune at one point. They just spent $70 billion. You're asking, can they afford licensing?
Music licensing is a whole nother beast.
Rock Band did it. If Rock Band could do it,
They're all dead. There's a reason why these games don't exist anymore.
Phil Spencer.
The music industry was like, huh?
Make it
Oh,
happen.
we're gonna charge you. We got this.
Guitar
Music
Hero.
industry was not playing.
Make it happen.
My answer is too similar to Donnie's. It's DJ Hero. Just bring back
There you
DJ Hero, but better.
Hell yeah.
Like, fix it up. Make it actually feel like some turntables. Give me all the good new modern music. You can even do a thing where you can probably like stream music to it, and like stream licensed music to it, and pay for packs like that. And then you can have your own version of music, like independent artists. You can like buy their things that actually come with the game itself. Like, I love DJ Hero. I think that's a franchise I would like to see come back, and they could do a lot more with it than what they did.
I mean, Rocksmith does it. Beat Saber does it. I don't think it's crazy. Like, it can be done. There are games doing it. So do it, Microsoft.
I had to go. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was gonna say someone mentioned the idea of like a Pitfall that was like Tomb Raider. I'm like, yeah, bring back Pitfall, make it
Pitfall,
like Tomb Raider.
the
I would love to see
Uncharted
that.
competitor.
Yeah, make that. There is your new Uncharted
Yeah.
competitor. Exactly.
There
I
it
would
is.
love to see that.
Yeah, for
awesome.
me, I had to go dig deep way in Activision archives, and I was like, give me a new Tenchu. They actually
Tenchu.
purchased that, so give me a Tenchu, and you've got a Ghost of Tsushima competitor on Microsoft. So give me that.
Nice.
Bring back From Software to work on that. There you go.
There it is. All right, next question. He's from Coy. He says, "What are some devs from Activision you would like to see develop a Microsoft game?" Now, do they mean like develop an already existing Microsoft property?
Yeah,
Probably,
this
yeah.
is the Banjo question.
Yeah.
This question is being asked so we can say, Toys for Bob, make a Banjo game.
Banjo remakes. Yep.
And
Yes.
anybody
it's the
else?
only good answer, actually. It's so good.
Anybody
though.
else can Vicarious or anybody else make a 1 versus 100 game?
Hey, that's already happening. 1 versus 100 is already happening. They already got
Who's
the VR.
doing it though?
It's the VR team basically. That's not really part of Xbox. It's like they're gonna bring in the VR avatars. It's like in Microsoft Teams, and they are building a 1 versus 100. That's going to be a part of Xbox. Like Xbox is
It'll
fully
play
aware
on
of it.
console though, right? I don't have to buy a headset. Awesome.
That's right. Yes, totally.
Perfect.
Yep. They're just going to use those avatars and stuff, but it's like it'll be like a social VR space,
Of course.
but one that you could play on console.
1 versus 100 was dope. You guys have
Mm-hmm.
no idea what you're missing. You can't wait for it to come back. You got to play it. Got to
I'm
play it, Dave.
surprised how many people don't know about 1 versus 100.
Yeah,
always
me
I've
too.
never even heard of it.
Dude, it's
Yeah.
a great game. It's super fun, like time waster, like Wordle.
Yeah.
Like this stuff
Yeah.
that's going on. Yeah, like you just get on it,
I
and you
love
do
me
like
some
a little
Wordle.
quiz.
Wordle's great.
Yeah,
Wordle's
like it's
great.
this little time waster. You spend 10 minutes a day on it, and you do it, and it's super fun.
It's fun. It is fun. I can see that.
Okay, all right. All right, so from Rude Days, he says, so now that Game Pass will have Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, Xbox, and at this time, EA Play games all in its
Happy that we
catalog.
made Dev read that.
Shut up. If and when Microsoft increases the price of Game Pass, what would be the highest amount you pay? Donnie, let's just assume you don't have 5 years stacked up.
I do have 5 years stacked, but I did write
We
this
said
out.
assume.
If they raise the price to $20, which I think is the tier, I think you go to 20 and you make the baby like the basic tier 15. If you go to 20, that's $240 a year. That's 4 games. I think that's the sweet spot. Because if you go higher, I think some people question whether or not they want to do
Right.
it. But I do think that if they go to 25, that's 300 a year. That's 5 games. I think they can go to 25. They can go to $24.99. The question is how much, like what's the most? $24.99 I think is the sweet spot if they ever reach the reality that they're building for. If Bethesda's hitting, and Xbox is hitting, and Activision is hitting, and Blizzard's hitting, and Fable's out, and Perfect Dark is out, and Gears is out, and Halo's out, and Fall. Like if that's happening every month, we're getting a game
Or an expansion that is
or an
also
expansion,
included.
but like that content is being fed. $25 is a steal.
I will say that while I understand why this question always comes up, because of course they're going to raise the price. People need to remember it's not going to be exactly like Netflix. Netflix has to raise the price because the only other time they make money is when you go to Target and you're like, oh, cool, Stranger Things merch. I'm going to buy Stranger Things merch. They don't have microtransactions. They don't have service games. Like
DLC.
it's a DLC. It's a completely different animal that Netflix and all these other content, like all music and movies, are jealous of. They are extremely jealous that the average price or the average like revenue from per user that something that a video game can get is 3-4 times like what a movie can get, like maybe a lot more than that in a lot of cases. If they have a lot of games that are like hitting per month, yeah, they could raise the price to 20. But if they have a couple of games that are making Fortnite like like revenue from their microtransactions and that they own, let alone just having also Fortnite on Xbox. They don't need to raise it above 20. Like they don't. Like they can just say $20 per month. We are hitting on all our cylinders. Maybe the $20 tier is the one that does get you DLC or something like that. So it's like it's all in. You also get a World of Warcraft subscription. All this stuff. It's great. Come do $20 per month. You are going to be fully bought in, and that means you're probably also playing these service games and spending microtransactions as well. So
here's a T-shirt. Here's a mouse pad. Here's a $200 statue.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of rewards and stuff built in. Absolutely. But if you are spending a lot of money in their ecosystem in other ways, they don't need to raise the price that much.
Good point.
For me, it's 20. As long as you throw World of Warcraft in there, we're good.
Yeah, and I think that seems likely.
Yeah, I was going to say $20 too. So yeah.
Good one. I'm glad you brought up the price per user, price per player, Jeff. We were talking about this in our Discord.
Compared to movies, like they really are legitimately jealous. They wish they could come up. Like that's what like half of NFTs are about. They're like, maybe we could do it that way. Like they're trying to find other ways to do that. Absolutely.
I was talking to Devin in our Discord last week as the console sales came out. People are, they're basically benchmarking where they thought Xbox was versus PlayStation, and we were having a conversation because we do this every month. NPD comes out and we talk about who has the most sales and everything. And I keep coming back to this focus. I've been here since Xbox started Game Pass. Where do we ever get to a point where these companies ever actually tell us what their price per user is? Because that's got to be the KPI. Like that's the market that they're on. I don't think customers like the Veil hasn't, like we're living in ignorance. We're like, who sold the most? My dad sold more boxes than your dad. It's like, guys, that has nothing to do with it. Like it is all about who is making the most money, who's subscribing, who's buying games, who's buying DLC, who's putting money into the jukebox.
I want to say that I remember writing a story about this general idea a few years ago, and it was might have been a third-party tracking company, but basically it was like Xbox makes higher average revenue per user, but they have fewer users. So like those users are also more enthusiastic about that brand. It's not like this broader brand, and that's typically how it works. If you have a smaller audience, it's a more dedicated audience. They spend more money per person, but they're not as big. So it's like it evens itself out, and then obviously the one with the bigger audience wins. But it's like, yeah, I think that we will probably get engagement numbers of like we'll continue getting like users per month and stuff.
Player counts.
Active monthly users, stuff like that, and then we might sniff out like the average revenue per user and be able to do some math that way. But they're never going to just flat out tell us.
Yeah, they don't want us to know that.
No. All right, our last question for all the Activision stuff is Drew says, do you think Xbox will ever bring WoW to consoles? That has been a dream of mine since WoW was a thing. I think
so. I think it'll happen eventually. Maybe it'll be like that. We got that Wild Rift of League of Legends, right? Is that what it was? League of Legends Wild Rift. Like they might do something like that, where like the WoW consoleized version or something like that. And it is its own thing, a spinoff that is basically the same game, but with simplified controls and stuff like that. But I also think there's a chance they might just try to figure out how to get that game up and running on a controller. I know that it's not really made to ever do that. But
I would disagree at this point. The rotations and everything are simple. Like they've taken out a lot of the complexity of World of Warcraft. I think the biggest hurdle is the mods. Because if you really play WoW, you mod the hell out of that game for all kind of things, for waypoints and gold and stuff.
Bethesda launcher, you can already do that on console, right? You can already mod with like Fallout and Skyrim on console. So they have a system in place to do that. So it's like you just bring that stuff in house, enable that stuff, and go to town. So
could they ever grab? And I'm not a PC player, so this is way out of my range. But I'm thinking in terms of how I would want to get this information. Could they ever grab like the most adopted mods and package that into a console release?
They absolutely could. That's what WoW kind of has done over the years. Like the things that become the most popular, they just add into the game.
Right.
So they can do that as well. And I mean, they're both PCs. You can also allow keyboard and mouse to work. So if you really want to use keyboard and mouse, just plug in your keyboard and mouse and allow WoW to be on consoles. And you can grow your player base by that, because WoW right now is losing players. Oh, yeah. So you throw it on console, now you've got another possible player base that you can expand upon the game again.
Cool.
I agree.
All right. Well, let's get through this. Let's get through the news, the rest of the news quickly, or at least get through the rest of this Xbox news. Phil Spencer's now the CEO of Microsoft Gaming. As we said, new core pillar. Game Pass is now 25 million subscribers, and it's up 8 million from the last time they reported numbers a year ago.
And that's right what I was hearing for a long time. It was between 22 and 23, and we'd probably hear about it next one was at 25 million right about now. So yeah.
Nice. Nobody Saves the World, Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc Anniversary Edition are out on Game Pass now, as is Death's Door. Joining them will be the Hitman trilogy, Windjammers 2, Paparazzi, Rainbow Six Extraction, and Rainbow Six Siege tomorrow, with Taiko no Tatsujin coming soon. So Game Pass.
Yeah, lots of good games.
Horizon Forbidden West got a brand new trailer today. That is awesome. I am so excited for this game.
It looks really good.
It's great.
It unveiled that Carrie-Anne Moss is a character in the game playing the role as Tilda, and that Angela Bassett will be playing an antagonist named Regalia. I kind of wish I didn't know that when I went into the game. It's cool. I'm not saying spoilers. I'm not upset. Don't get me wrong. Don't take this as, it's not that. I just, when I watched it, I was like, this is really cool.
Released? Because I didn't see anything in the trailer that said who they were or who they were voiced by. Was there a blog post that had that as well?
I just watched the trailer. Jeff Keighley tweeted like Carrie-Anne Moss is in this, and I think he might have just linked to the. Yeah, that's the tweet I saw.
There's a lot of headlines are running with it. I mean, I thought it was Carrie-Anne Moss. Like her model looks a lot like her. It looks like Trinity, like in a Horizon getup. And I was just I'm super hyped to play it. Don't get me wrong, but there was a part of me that was like, man, if I had just walked into that moment not knowing, I would have been like, holy shit.
You see how I feel about that kind of stuff now, eh?
So, but anyway, it looks incredible. The trailer looks incredible. Mm-hmm. Haley says Game Informer. Yeah, I think they have a big write-up too. So it's a part of this game's marketing buzz going in. Nintendo Switch was December's best-selling hardware, then Xbox, then PS5 for the month. Switch and PlayStation effectively tied for dollar sales. Top 10 video games, guess who's 1 and 2? Call of Duty. Followed by Madden, Pokemon, Battlefield, blah, blah, blah. The Artful Escape is headed to PlayStation 5, PS4, and Switch on January 25th. You should play it. If you don't mind Bob Dylan and a lot of like jazz guitar solo indefinitely over your platforming, it's an experience. Jeff, I only threw this in here because I wanted to ask you this question.
Yeah.
Dying Light 2 has been delayed on Switch for up to 6 months after release. I'm super hyped for Dying Light. Dying Light 2 is Stream. It's cloud version on Switch. Why the hell are they delaying a cloud version of a game? How's that possible? Like if it's running on a console, you just put it on a PC and you stream that to the Switch, right?
Got lost in the clouds.
Right.
What the I'm so confused. I'm like, how do you delay a cloud version?
Thing. I don't. You're right. It's really odd, and to me, makes me worry because like I haven't gotten the game yet. They did reach out about some codes, but we haven't got them yet. So I could say like haven't played it, but like to me that says like this game's coming in very hot. Like, because it would just be the PC version, I guess.
God, they've delayed it for 8 years. I can't imagine.
Right. I suppose. Maybe it's like a Linux version because maybe they don't want to like run it on Windows for some reason, so maybe that's just that like
some conversion.
Yeah, it's enough of a hassle that they're not willing to put up with it right now because they are putting out fires in these other ones. But they're like, we can get these ones up to snuff. We just don't want to be distracted by the Switch version that we know is probably also not going to sell as well as these other ones. So
I know Nintendo's using Ubitus for their streaming. I think everybody uses Ubitus for Switch streaming. I think.
I mean, I knew that's what it was in Japan. I guess it is here too.
I was wondering if maybe it had something to do with just coordination with those companies. I mean, I'm not trying to say here or there. I just thought it was really, really strange that there's a cloud version of a game. The game is releasing that day, but the cloud version is delayed. Like that just took me as completely bunk. I was like, that doesn't make sense.
It is weird. I agree.
Very weird.
Okay, so we've reached the 90-minute mark. Jeff, do you have a couple minutes to answer just a couple questions?
I do. Let's do it.
Awesome. Jeff, take it away.
All right, we're gonna start with Kyle. What's everyone's favorite ice cream flavor? Mine is cookies and cream.
I
we
just
know
like
yours
the
is vanilla,
kinds.
Delvin.
It's a vanilla bean. Specifically.
Vanilla bean.
There you go. There you go.
Mayfield.
So basic.
If you guys have
just
never
so
tried
basic.
it, Mayfield makes an ice cream that's blueberry pie ice cream. It has like blueberry cookie, like graham cracker crust in it with like dough and blueberry swirl, and it is slap your mama good. Like it is bonkers good ice cream. If you've never tried it, go find it. I don't know what it's called, the blueberry swirl or blueberry cookie or something like that. It's blueberry pie. It's got graham crackers, I think like some sort of dough and the blueberry swirl, and it is insane.
I just kind of go in. I just kind of go in with an open heart, and I walk down the ice cream aisle with my wife's like, bring home some ice cream, and I'm like, what looks good? And usually it's something chocolatey, but like chocolate chips in it or something like that. But it's different every time, and I don't have like one go-to. So that's just me though.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, coming in from Brendan, he says, what time of day do you find gaming to be more enjoyable?
I always game late at night.
I feel like no matter what time of day, I always feel guilty, like I should be doing something else. So it used to be late at night. I'm like, the idea of playing games in the morning was awful, but now it's like, if I can wake up before everyone else in the house, I will sit down and I will play games. And that like is like, okay, they're all sleeping. Like my responsibility to like keeping them fed or entertained or whatever, or like making sure they're like learning to read or whatever is like that stuff's on pause. They're all asleep. So right now, playing very early in the morning has been very nice. I played a little bit of a Snow Runner this past weekend, and it was a delight to play before everyone woke up.
Yeah, I would have to go with the same if every time I tried that, one of my children didn't wake up and come bother me. Yeah. So I have to revert back to the late night. Like that's the only time I can ever really play without feeling, one, guilty and not being bothered.
Mm-hmm.
I have to treat my gaming like people watch porn, like late at night when no one's around.
Door locked, right?
Door locked.
We almost got in and out of this episode without one of these moments from Delvin.
Yeah.
Almost.
Hey, I gotta be honest, because
Hey, you in there?
any other time,
I'm just cleaning my room.
any other time when I try to play a game, somebody's gonna come in. They're gonna ask a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get annoyed and like, all right, I'm turning this off now. Never mind.
Man, you just described my life. Yep.
Yeah.
So the bathroom is the real answer. I play on the bathroom the most. It doesn't matter what time of day. Play on the bathroom.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Ooh.
All right.
Let's do the Kickstarter one. Can we do that?
Where is the? We'll read it because I don't even know
I got
what
it.
you're talking about.
This will be our last one. After more than a year since the last update, Jules Watson sent out a message about the Kickstarter for Chicken Wiggle Workshop. It's called Hatch Tales now. Now 2 years behind schedule. What has been your best and worst Kickstarter experiences? And the reason I said that we should do this is because we had a collectively awful experience. There was a game on the Wii U called Swap Fire, and it was a free-to-play game that was like the top of the charts. It had this cool little mechanic where you shot somebody with a laser, and when you shot them, you teleported. You guys switched positions. So like this weird cat and mouse game of like swapping around. And it got really chaotic and crazy. And we met the developer, and he came on the show, and he said he wanted to do a second, like a follow-up, and he wanted to have like a story campaign and everything. And his name was Jeremy Alessi. And we all got behind it collectively as PSVG. I funded the tier to put Donnie in the game. I was going to put myself in the
Donnie
game.
in the face.
Jeez.
We actually had the hashtag trending that day. Hashtag shoot Donnie in the face was the marketing term that we got behind. I was like, if you hate me and my gaming opinions, come support this Kickstarter. You'll put me in the game. I'll have my face scanned like GoldenEye 007 style, and you can shoot me in the face. And I was going to be a playable character, and I thought it was going to be awesome. And this guy like just took all of our money, basically. Like he never released the game. He spent it all on making a comic book. He didn't update it for like a year. And late last year, I got fed up with him, and I actually tracked him down. And I gave him a what's up. Like I gave him a what's for, because the Kickstarter hadn't been updated forever. And he felt really, really bad. He told me all this stuff happened in COVID, and and I get it. Games are hard, and there was I wasn't really too upset about losing the money. It was a fun experience, just being a part of it. But I just don't think he did right by the fans. And he offered to come on the show, and he was going to come on, and I was going to grill him and everything. To be honest with you, it just felt kind of petty, and I didn't feel like giving him that platform.
I get that.
So I was like, you know what? No, I don't think we will. I don't think we will invite you back and let you try to make excuses for this. I think I'll just continue to tell everybody never to back anything that you do again. So that was a crazy story that we did. I think collectively, like as a team, a lot of us jumped in on that one, and it bit us in the butt. It was a good story.
Please put Rebecca's comment, because that's the real reason. They canceled it because they didn't want you in the game.
Oh, that could be. It really, really could be. But there is another project called Ghosts that is coming out from the director that made the movie Host, which is an amazing horror movie that was Shudder. And if you guys listen to Decade of Horror, it was my number one horror movie of 2020. If you guys haven't seen like scary movies, go watch it. It's called Host. It's like this, it's like a paranormal Zoom movie, but it's fantastic. It's really, really, really good. And at the rise of like COVID, they nailed it. And he's making an interactive like FMV video game. And I signed on for like the director's cut, so I'll get a Switch copy. It'll be autographed by the cast. I think I get a hat or whatever. And I just got an update the other day that they're finalizing polishing and I expect it to be out this year. So I'm going to keep believing, but that is actually a professional Kickstarter. They have a team, they have developers. It's not like this guy. So I've got faith that one will make its way through. So that's my answer.
Yeah. My worst Kickstarter experience was me and my wife, we actually started a Kickstarter to start a summer camp and was able to reach the funding and everything, but the place that we were trying to actually have the camp at just never ever responded to us. Like we could not get them to reply and get anything going, so we had to refund all the money. That was it. I haven't Kickstarted anything else, so
my best and worst Kickstarter experience is the same game. It was Shenmue 3.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
Best when I paid for it. Worst when I got it.
Hey, look, if Call of Duty leaving PlayStation really hurts them, they can always go back to Kickstarter.
Like, oh my God. I'm like, when I start playing, like, yep, this is Shenmue and this is not good. This is,
Delvin, you weren't part of the team back then, and Jeff, we hadn't crossed paths. Devin knows. I was so damn mad that E3 conference. I was like, did they just come out and announce a Kickstarter?
Game?
What the fuck? Are you
remember that.
Could you imagine if Nintendo, we've got this idea for a Kirby game for the right price of $19.99, you can get it on the ground floor. Like, what the fuck?
We want you to pay for it. Like, literally, right now.
I was furious. Oh, I forgot all about that, Delvin. Thank you for the memory, dude.
I've had nothing but pretty good luck with Kickstarter. Mostly it's just I'm doing stuff that I know is going to come out, though, like stuff that it's basically already done and they're just kind of paying for marketing. So I've had good luck, but like I've funded like the MST3K like new season and stuff like that, and the Rift Track stuff. Every year I do that stuff, and it's always rewarding. I always get my stuff, so it's been pretty useful for me.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That's going to do it for us tonight over at Play Some Video Games. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I hope it was everything that you wanted. I hope we covered all of the different avenues that this Activision earth-shattering megaton news, like the gaming industry, has forever changed this week. And I hope you guys enjoyed this special show. Jeff, as always, dude, thank you so much for dropping by PSVG. I know we're not the biggest outlet. I know you've got a lot of folks that would like to have you come over. I'm always eternally grateful that you give us so much of your time. And I definitely want to give you a chance to let everybody know where they can support you, follow you, do your things. But before you do, I signed up for Grubb Snacks, as you already know.
Yeah.
I signed up for Giant Bomb. I don't even listen to the other Giant Bomb stuff. I'm just there just for Grubb. We'll sub for Grubb. And I will tell everybody else, if you like Jeff Grubb and his content, Grubb Snacks it's the best. You got to have it. Like that's the core product. Nothing against Mikey. I'm all here for recorder solos.
Lots against Mikey. Definitely against Mikey.
Grubb Snacks is everything. We got to have Mikey back too.
Yes, definitely.
But I love it. So definitely take it away, Jeff.
Yeah, Grubb Snacks is on tomorrow morning on giantbomb.com/chat. If you show up there, it'll give you a prompt to get to the premium sub and stuff like that. I was on the Bombcast this week though as well. So if you want to sign up, I think it was actually the Bombcast. Like if you want to watch the premium video, that was actually free this week, so you could do that if you want. But yeah, come hang out with me tomorrow doing Grubb Snacks. It's a lot of fun. It's very interactive. We try to bring some news each week. I answer a lot of questions. It's very back and forth with the chat. It's a really good time. And then I do Game Speak Decides coming up on Friday, and then I'll be on a bunch of other podcasts this weekend, I think. So check me out on Twitter. I'll be letting you know whenever I'm going live somewhere. So that's just at Jeff Grubb.
Awesome. Delvin, as always, it's been a pleasure, guys. You got any parting remarks?
I do.
Uh-oh.
Remember a few years ago when everyone was complaining about Spider-Man being console exclusive?
Oh, yeah.
What do you have to say now?
So, if anything, when I think of that day, I remember a lot of the PlayStation folks going, man, Xbox used to have Call of Duty back in the day, and now we've got it, so the shoe's on the other foot. If anything, I'm sitting here back now, I'm like, man, that's foot and mouth.
Yeah.
I did see there was a great tweet. Somebody tweeted, it was, and I'm paraphrasing, but the tweet was, I did retweet it. You can go find it on my profile. Somebody said, I've been playing Call of Duty on PlayStation for years, and these PlayStation fanboys have yelling at me saying, if you don't play the exclusives, go kick rocks. Like, I'm here for the exclusives. Go play your Call of Duty shooter. And he was like, I will. Like, that's amazing. It's like all of a sudden, all these folks care about Call of Duty now. And I actually do feel that, because we've talked about kind of the shaft, that sports games, these popular games, FIFA, NBA, and I lump Call of Duty into that. If you listen to a lot of gaming journalists, influencer podcasts, IGNs, the GameSpots, Kind of Funnies and stuff, I think it's safe to say, I'm not pointing fingers, but there's a lot of shade thrown at Call of Duty and Battlefield and these
100%.
bro games, you know.
They don't care. They're like,
they don't care, and they've told you forever they don't care, and they're not included for Game of the Year and everything. And then Microsoft buys them, and all of a sudden they seriously care. They're like, you can't take the game away.
Like, oh, now you want to care, huh?
Exactly.
Get outta
It's
here.
like, you guys didn't care about Call of Duty.
Right. Shenanigans.
So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Delvin. It's very good. Dev?
I got nothing. Game Pass on PlayStation. Let's go. Come on.
Make
Well,
it
that's going to do it for us. Good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Chat, you were lovely. As always, go play some video games.